Okay, yeah.
Okay, are we good? Yeah, ready when you are, George? Right, shh.
Before this assignment, the question book will be, how did music become a business? Well, there are many different areas of how a transition took place. Some areas we'll discuss are some things sound is collected by a horn that is attached to a diaphragm. The sound causes vibrations in the air that travel down the horn, causing the diaphragm to vibrate. The diaphragm is connected to a stylus, and pressed into a cylinder covered in wax or turned to be a thin layer of tin foil. When the handle is turned, the cylinder rotates and also moves very slowly along. The stylus pushes against the wax, and then when the cylinder is rotated, it cuts through, and the stylus also moves up and down very slowly as it vibrates with the sound. And so the wax now contains the recording of the new sound as it grew. The first record company was actually Columbia Records, which has been around for 125 years. The first artist signed, which I haven't actually discovered yet. Technological advances, the transition of analog tape, reel-to-reel to digital recording through to the creation of recording software. Publishing, how publishing has helped the distribution of music. The radio, also how the radio has helped music, including Bing Crosby and his involvement in the development of the reel-to-reel tape. PRS, the Women's Rights Society, the collection of royalty payments for people that also being researched is the aspect of money. What money actually goes where? Who pays for what did the labels pay for, and what do the labels pay for now? What percentage does the label take from sales of the albums, and what actually is their involvement in production and distribution of an album? Is touring where the majority of the money is made from? Where the majority of the money is made from for an artist in the 21st century. Whether it is or is not because of popularity of illegal downloads, and what has illegal downloads done to the industry? Did illegal downloads or legitimate digital downloads, methods like iTunes or Spotify, kill the physical art? What difference does social media make to the music industry? Artists are now capable of breaking into the music industry through a keyboard and screen. Through the use of a Facebook account or MySpace profile. MySpace used to be the social networking site of choice for aspiring musicians. One popular site has been attributed to launching the careers of people like Lily Allen or Soulboy. As well as boosting sales of already established artists, MySpace dropped 10 million unique visitors at the start of 2011, bringing the users down to 63 million compared to Facebook's 500 million users. Lady Gaga, for example, has over 31 million likes on Facebook, but yet only has 1.5 million friends on her MySpace profile. MySpace is clearly no longer the most appropriate tool for aspiring artists trying to break into the music industry. Though it won't be necessary. Hate you if you do. Great profile. Lady Gaga does crossover content on the various social networking sites she uses, but it's clear that nowadays Facebook is the most popular music platform choice for artists. Has the music video helped the popularise music through the adding of visuals to accompany a song? Does it make the consumer understand the song more to display what the song is about for a short film? Or is it just marketing, or is it just a marketing device used to promote self-recording? Going back to illegal downloads, problems such as this tend to be the reason for musicians to invest in. Going back towards illegal downloads, problems such as this tend to be the reason for musicians who already have time and fortune investing in other avenues of business to maintain a stable income. For example, Bono of U2 has an investment group called Evaluation Partners, which bought 2.3% of Facebook for $90 million, which as of 2012 stands to equate at $1.5 billion, making him the richest musician in history. Taking all these elements into account, regardless of the bad and in acknowledgement of the good, another question to think about is this the perfect opportunity for the music industry to completely reinvent itself? So, what's been established so far? The first recording company was Columbia Records, founded in 1887. Originally, it was called Columbia Phonographs, who sold Edison phonographs and phonograph cylinders. Frank Sinatra signed to Columbia Records in November 1944. Barbra Streisand signed to Columbia Records in the early 60s. Bob Dylan signed to Columbia Records in 1961. And Adele signed with Columbia Records in March 2009. So, PRS, Performance Rights Society. PRS has been collecting money for musicians and composers for nearly 100 years. As of March 2008, PRS have issued 300,000 licenses. They operate on a non-profit organisation. PRS has the legal right to collect money, back charge for 6 years, and prosecute under the Copyright Design and the Patent Act of 1993. Some of the subsections I'll include. Live industry, how people heard music before it was a business. The development of phonograph and Columbia Phonographs. Columbia Records, forming the company. Technological advances, phonograph, tape reel, digital recording, such as Pro Tools, radio, and everything, Bing Crosby, and the revolution of tape. PRS, the history, the collection of royalties, how to go. Research, so some things I'll be doing with research are, of course, documentaries, published documents, books, and websites. And in regards to documentaries, one I have found in particular is one called, there's one that's actually still in development, which will be released early next year, called Who Killed or Saved the Music Industry, which explores the current state of the music industry and a lot of the issues that we looked at in our project. A little bit before I count. This only actually has up to 4,000 words at the minute, but I'm still in the process of actually thinking about what to include.
Okay, thanks, George. Okay, I've got a few things to say. I think from what you're looking at here, it's far too broad. I think that you are wanting to include so many things here that you're not really going to be able to focus as wholeheartedly as you ought to. So it's too big, and also it's too much of a historical document. It needs to be focusing on what it is that you actually want to look at. So something like how did the music become a business? I mean, that's vast. I mean, you're perhaps looking at trying to discuss well over 100 years worth of, progress and evolution. And I think that's, I mean, you could do a PhD on that, let alone your research reports. So I think what you need to do is scale it down. There's some really interesting ideas in there that perhaps you ought to focus on. I really liked the Death of the Album on one of your slides, and I thought, I wonder whether, yeah, absolutely. So you could that would then provide you a much tighter frame and a really clear-cut way to work through your argument. So it's still discussing what you wanted to discuss on a broader scale, but here it's a much more focused, much more tightly controllable subject for your research. What do you think?
Well, I was just going to say, can I just add to that? I think that there's coming out of this for me, the kernel of what you're talking about is how you seem to kind of be charting the way in which formats change and the business changes in relation or in relationship to those format changes. I think if you kind of narrow it down to that kind of focus, I think it's very easy to kind of get bogged down in the history of all of this sort of stuff, and there is so much to say. But if you kind of tighten the question down to being something along the line, I can't phrase this off the top of my head in a very great way, but something about the relationship between changes in format and how well the industry is doing at any given time. I mean, my immediate thought is what you're going to find is something to do with formats changing consumption in various different ways, which you kind of allude to, but also there's a wider economic picture. And that idea of the death of the album might be to do with changing consumption patterns as you move into the digital era. Yeah, as well. You get these cycles of single, consumption, which we're currently kind of going into at the moment, for example. But there might also be a wider kind of economic context to things like that. So, I mean, I would concentrate on format, changes in format as your hook to hang your coat on. That's my thought.
And then if you're able to frame that in terms of, the fact that you stated death of the album, and that in itself actually has a real postmodern theory perspective and allusion, because there's the notion of the death of the author as well. So the death of the album is just it kind of resonates.
What can I include in that doesn't sort of relate back to history?
Because you're looking at it in contemporary terms. What has caused the death of the album? So has that been the downloads? So what you're doing is you're situating that notion. You're taking into consideration the historic legacy of it all, but you're looking at what the contemporary result is. See what I mean? Excellent. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Go on then, Brady. Get out of the way.
Didn't expect much.
Way to set it out.
Janice, who's supervising George? Is it you?
No. Well, like if for research report, I'm supervising all of them.
Oh yeah, good point.
It's only a professional portfolio that have been separated out.
George, drop me an email. I've got a bunch of sources to chuck at you. It's really weird. I was just doing a lecture on pretty much this, sort of. So yeah, there's a few things I can punt your way if you want. Sorry, you going down there.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Just structure it a bit more. Just some really good ideas in there. We seem to just focus
There are a
on
lot more controls up there than I expected. I feel like I can do this so much.
Now you can see why we struggle so badly at the beginning of lectures.
Terrifying.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm Ready Meat Pros, and my research report will be on could crowdfunding replace record labels? So why is this a current issue? There's the record label industry monopolising the scene seems to be become a little bit outdated in our current age of technology, freedom, instant worldwide connection, and so it's evident that the industry model could do with updating. There's a growing discontent within the industry with bands having to split up or stop touring as it doesn't seem to be a sustainable job anymore. Crowdfunding is the idea of bringing a product directly from the artist to the fan. Sites like Pledge Music, Indiegogo and Kickstarter are all successful mediums for the crowdfunding at different levels of musician, from bands, for example, my band, last year we did a crowdfunding thing through